Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for giving me some time in your meeting. I think we do have some important things to talk about, and I hope you'll find that to be true. The big thing, reappraisal 2025, and that's the word that we're trying to get out. Is that what does that mean to you? How will it affect you? When you get it, what do you do? These are some things that we want to talk about. I want to share with you a little bit about how we do it. Where some of the values come from, technology that we use, who we are. So I'm going to do a quick snapshot of all that as we go through here. I do encourage you just to stop me and let's talk. If we get to a point to where you want to ask a question, this is very informal. I like conversation. I like questions. We all can learn from each other. So please feel free to be able to do that. Rebecca did leave you some things to take with you that you can read, and something you can remember me by, because I know you'll probably want to remember me. So you can take that home with you. So first, let's talk about what is it, the responsibility of this office that I have. What do we do, and what is it that we're supposed to be doing? So property assessment, the responsibility is to list and assess all real and personal property in Buncombe County. As the appointed assessor, I am charged by the North Carolina General Statute to list and appraise all property in Buncombe County for the purpose of taxation. Okay? So real, of course, is your real estate. Personal will be your motor vehicles, campers, RVs, utility trailers, boats, whatever else that you have that will be classified as personal property. We do that also. We also manage the land records, which means your ownership and what it is that you actually own in Buncombe County. So we take care of the boundaries, ownership. If you sell it to someone, then we transfer it in our system to whomever the new owner is. The new owner then gets the tax bill. So we manage all those new ownerships coming through daily in our office. Taxable property, as I said, personal property, licensed motor vehicles, business personal property, and real property. So a couple there that I didn't mention earlier is business personal property, also taxed in the county, and a responsibility if you're a business owner is that you list your business assets for the purpose of taxation. So whatever that business may be, it can be as large as a multi-million-dollar manufacturing facility down to a small mom and pop facility who maybe just have a computer and a copy machine, but it all still should be listed for taxation. All taxable property must be listed, and when I say listed, you can kind of equate that to be reported. Okay, the statute classifies it, uses the word as listed, and for many reasons. If any of you know the history of property tax, you'd know why we use that word. Is that back in the early years we had listers. And some of you, I don't know if you're all from North Carolina, but that's the way we used to do it. We had a lister that would come to the community and sit, and you'd go to the lister and they'd write down all your assets. Well, we have evolved a long way from that now. But those must be listed yearly. So people don't know that. This is an important one. If you own real property, most people say, well, that's the responsibility of the assessor. Why am I concerned about it? Which is actually not true. The North Carolina statute says you, as the property owner, have the sole responsibility to let me know what property you own, and if you make a change to that property, that you must report it to the assessor for reasons of reassessment. And those should be reported yearly. So if you have a structure, a house, or whatever, and you add a garage onto it, it's your responsibility to let us know that that change has happened. All taxable personal property is valued as of January 1 of the current year, which means your motor vehicle, if you have one, we revalue that motor vehicle every year. Every January 1, new values are established, and then when you go to renew your tag, then you pay your taxes and we give you a new value at that time. A little bit different for real estate. All taxable real property is only valued as of January 1 of the reappraisal year. Okay? We do not revalue your real estate every year. Statute does not allow it. the statute says you can only value real estate as of January 1 of the reappraisal year. And there's very few reasons in a non-reappraisal year that we can change the real property assessment of your property. So a little bit different between real property and personal property valuation dates.
So I probably should know that. What is reappraisal year? Every year, every 5 years?
Reappraisal years, we establish it. It's now, that's reappraisal 2025.
Right.
That will be the next one. Buncombe County has been on a 4-year cycle for many years, but we'll talk a little bit more about that cycle as we work our way through this. We also administer the special programs provided by the state of North Carolina, which would be the elderly exemption, veterans, disabled, present use value. Those are the programs that the state provides to residents of the county for an exclusion of taxes or a reduction in taxes if you meet some of those criteria. We revalue or reappraise 130,000 parcels of real property every 4 years. So when we do the reappraisal of 2025, we will have revalued each individual 130,000 parcels across the entire county. A little bit for you on your neighborhood. Some facts: 40 parcels of real estate in the Wilds, 465 parcels of real estate for all Chunns Cove. That's where you fit into it. Taxable property for FY24, $18 million for the Wilds. So for those 40 parcels that you folks own in the Wilds, they have a total taxable value of $18 million. And for Chunns Cove, a total of $183 million. Now, here's why I tell you that. The revenue that your development generates is based upon that $18 million. So if you apply the tax rate to that $18 million, it will tell you the total tax revenue that your community pays in tax to the county and the city or whatever district that you might be in. So that's the part that you contribute to the fire department, to the library, to the school, to any other thing in which the county supports across as far as services.
Are we allowed to ask questions?
Yes?
You know, when I saw that, I'm thinking, for the whole Chunns Cove area, we're about 10%, 18 million of 180 million, and we're not 10% of the parcels. So should I interpret that to mean that our individual values are on the average less than the other parcels in Chunns Cove?
Yes. So the question is, what is the relationship between the two numbers? If the total for Chunns Cove is 183 million and the Wilds is at 18 million, so you've got about 10% of the taxable value for all Chunns Cove. Okay. So out of 460 parcels, or for the 40 parcels, that's again, you've got 40 out of the 465. So what I think you're looking at here is that the 10% then equates to your individual property values, which in a lot of cases in Chunns Cove will be higher, but in a lot of places it might be lower. So, but the 10% is what you contribute in value to the overall. Now, I don't have the individual values for all Chunns Cove, but that's going to be a big variation. You have some moderately valued homes, and you may have some higher valued homes. So
our values are less on the average.
Yes.
Because we would be 46 parcels if we were 10% of Chunns Cove.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So reappraisal 2025. The process is per the North Carolina General Statute 105-286, which says every county in the state of North Carolina must revalue a minimum of once every 8 years. Now, in that, also the county commissioners have the ability to advance that, or there's some triggers in the statute will automatically advance it, and that's why that we now are advanced to 4 years. We've been operating on a 4-year cycle for many, many years here, and we do that because of the appreciation in the market here. If you waited 8 years, you can imagine if you hadn't had your house revalued in 8 years, then you would have a huge sticker shock if I send you a new value, Because 8 years ago, the house that some of us were living in may have been valued at $250,000. Today, they may be valued at $600,000-700,000 over an 8-year period of appreciation. So that's reappraisal. So why else do we do it? To keep the values in line with the current market. The market here in Buncombe County and the city of Asheville changes rapidly. Appreciation is 6 to 10% across the county and the city per year. So what happens is that the values then for taxation starts getting out of balance. Now here's what I mean by that. Different areas of the county appreciate at different rates. In the wilds, maybe you're appreciating at 6% a year. You may have another place up in Chunns Cove that's appreciating as much as 10% a year. So their value's growing faster than yours. So what the reappraisal does is it equalizes that, and it brings everybody back in line. So no one piece of the county or one section is paying a greater part of the tax burden than the other. Okay?
Explain that to me again.
So let's say you own a home that's valued at $100,000 and you're paying tax on $100,000.
Okay.
He has a home that's valued at $100,000. You've got sort of the same, but they're located in two different areas of the county. Yours has appreciated now to $200,000. His is appreciated to $500,000. But you're still paying tax on $100,000. Okay? So if we didn't revalue that, then you and he are paying a portion of the amount of taxes that you should be paying. You're paying more on a percentage based on your lower value than he would be paying. Does that make sense? So it's about establishing the tax burden. Where is the tax burden? So if he has a $500,000 house and you have a $100,000 house, but his is still only valued at $100,000, then he's not paying tax on that $400,000 of value that's in his property, but you are. You may be paying on 100% of value, he's paying on 50% of value. So, which means, in the end, you're paying a greater share than he's paying. So reappraisal is all about equalizing that, to keep any of you from one or the other paying more or less than the other. It should equalize it.
So then, does that mean that his taxes will go down or stay the same and will not go up?
Not necessarily. His value is going to go up also to capture whatever that might be in the market, but maybe not as much as his. But now we're going to talk a little bit more about tax rate. So when we get to that point, we'll talk a little bit more about your question.
And not to, maybe I'm just slow, but in your first explanation, you kind of did that. And so that made me think, okay, the higher value comes down, the lower value come up so that they got to even. And that did not seem fair.
No. When I do the balance, it's about tax, not value. Okay? You equalize the value, which usually means that somewhere in here the lower ones is going to come up. The other ones may go up a little. But it's again about equalization, because remember what I said, his appreciated at 50%, maybe yours appreciated at only 5%. So they're not going to move in the same amount, but they're probably both going to move in that upward direction. Because we really don't have any values in Buncombe County now that's probably going down. Okay, they're all moving up. But you're going to maybe see a larger move and a larger increase because you have more appreciation. Now the taxes, different from value, and we'll talk about that in a minute. That's where tax equalization, if he's paying up here and you're paying down here, that equalization and value should then equalize in the tax. So his tax rate, when the tax rate comes down, then if he was paying the same amount, then it would lower him and up you to equalize that. The whole reason for reappraisal, when the legislators wrote these statutes back in the early 19th century, legislators, I think, had on their mind then is that tax burden, because we in North Carolina pay taxes based on the value of your asset, what they call as to value or ad valorem tax. So that's the equalization they built in there to say, if we're going to pay tax based upon market value, then you have to revalue everybody occasionally to capture the changes in the market. So everybody is paying the same percentage on their value, that nobody's paying more than someone else. We use the mass appraisal methodology. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But with that, we also employ the same appraisal methods as any real estate appraiser. We use the same things. So if you go buy a house today and you have to have an appraisal on it, that appraiser looks at your property individually and gives you an appraisal on it. They use the same methods though, sales comparison, cost, income, as we would use on a mass. And mass just means that we are appraising groups of properties and your individual appraiser just focused on your property. Again, fee appraisal or your private appraiser looks at just your house. Mass appraisal, we look at groups of houses. So when we do the reappraisal, we will look at the wilds at Chunns Cove as one large group of properties. And we will apply different models and different statistical methods to arrive at values for everybody. Okay? Not individually, but sort of in a basis of a group. Your sales, then it applies across the board to everybody's and starts driving value for all your neighbors for comparable houses.
Do you know whether or not y'all limit that mass appraisal for us to our wilds or to the greater Mountain Brook area?
No. You are separated to be individual. What happens is that most of the time when we have a new subdivision that will go in, it's a new platted subdivision, then we will create that just as a market area within itself. You create the market in the wilds, not the people outside. So it's not necessarily always fair for me to compare your house to someone else up Chunns Cove because you offer something different in the wilds than maybe you get in that location. So we want the sales within your development to drive the values for your individual property.
So 2 years ago when I bought my house, I checked your website to see what my neighbors were paying in taxes, and I had an idea, what all my neighbors pay in their tax bill every year compared to what I was going to have to pay. And our houses are all very similar in when they were built, the sizes, and I noticed that there's a discrepancy in taxable amounts that people are paying. And it would seem to me that if you did this mass appraisal method, you might have the same tax bill for all 40 houses. And that's not the case today. And can you explain why?
So let's divide that. Are you talking about values different or taxes different?
Both.
Okay, because
Obviously both.
that,
You're basing the tax on the value that you're assigning.
but not necessarily. So if you two gentlemen had the same value, but this gentleman's getting a veteran's disability exemption, then his taxes are going to be lower.
That's true.
Okay, now, so you have to look at the value too. Is the value different or is the taxes different?
Yeah, the values were
So,
different.
but the values for where you live, unless there's interior differences, when these were built, maybe you had different packages you could have purchased. Okay, A, B, C, and D, and maybe A was 10,000 and maybe C was 50,000. Difference in the interior finish, and that could be driving the difference in your
Are you
values.
doing interior inspections?
We're not doing interior inspections unless you invite me to do it. But what I do know a lot of times is that when the builder took the permit, or we either talked to the contractor, we maybe gathered that information, that we knew that there was a difference
Well,
in
there
the
is a
two.
difference in square footage too, in the houses,
Okay.
so. that
I'm
might-
wondering if also,
That drives
to
it.
the specific point you're asking, so there were some houses that sold during that peak of housing market. Would that make a difference? What a particular house sold at relative to what I bought my house at? really?
But those sales in your neighborhood is going to drive everybody's value. Okay, not just his and not just yours. It's going to be everybody's. And we will use those cells, and we drill down the square footage. If your square footage is different than hers, then yours should be more.
But
And your
I've actually noticed that me and some of the other residents have finished, like the bonus room that wasn't finished when I bought the house, and the square footage when I bought the house didn't include the unfinished portion of the house. So if that becomes finished, it adjusts the square feet to a different number. And so I think that some of the discrepancies in the square footage have to do with that,
Okay.
to be honest with you.
Now,
But don't repeat that, that was a secret.
okay. So now,
Be one of those
Now,
things
he
listed
said,
on
now
that
what if
first
you're
slide that you're
Yes.
supposed to do. Other than
Yes.
yes.
so now we're going in a different direction. So,
You don't get in the house,
But-
you can't see that I did that.
you're right. So, but here's the issue with that, is that maybe you finished your bonus room yourself, or you hired a contractor to do it. They never took a permit out for it. You never reported it to me. I have no idea that that square footage is there, because I will never see the inside unless you ask me to, okay? So I don't know it. Now, that does start creating discrepancies between your value and his, and therefore, you two are paying the same taxes, but you have more value than he is, so is it fair that you not report that and pay the tax on your portion? Okay. So maybe I don't know that either one of you did it, okay?
But his house has a little bit more square footage before that than yours.
Does it?
Yeah, it's the bigger model.
Okay.
Yours is the same size as mine.
And this,
Here's the bad part. So let me tell you, let me make sure you hear this. Because the statute says it's your responsibility to report it,
Right.
if you don't report it, you can be liable for the back taxes up to as much as 10
Right.
years. Okay? And it does not matter who the owner was for the prior years. If you own it today, you are responsible for those taxes. All right? That can be a problem, because we see people do these things and they don't ever report it, and then they get a tax bill for $6,000, $8,000 all at once, and they're like, how can this happen? So I would encourage you, if you've done that and you haven't told us, that you need to tell us. Okay? So don't wait too long.
So when you get a permit, that's automatically done then, right?
Not automatically, no. A permit does not relieve you of the responsibility to report it. You need to follow up on that. Now, as this gentleman said, maybe he finished his and he hired somebody to finish it, and they said, I don't need a permit. Let's just do it. Probably what happened, okay? Is it okay? Maybe. I don't know. It's according to what was done. If there was electrical and plumbing done, then that has to be inspected. If it was just drywall, then he can hire somebody to put up drywall or put down flooring, and probably never took out a permit. So if he didn't report it, we do get the permits, and we know if you take out a permit, but that doesn't mean that everybody's getting permits. So you still should make sure that it happens. If you get penalized, and again, the legislators saw that as it's a self-reporting process, so we're going to put something in the statute that says if you don't do it, then we're going to penalize you. You can have to pay as much as 60% in penalty for not reporting it. Okay? Remember that. Now I'm going to pick on him. What's your name, sir?
Gene.
Gene? I have a feeling that's not right, but that's okay. What's your address?
I'm not saying.
Okay. So, some people say, well, wouldn't the process be better if you did single property appraisals? Yes. Would the process be better if Gene let me in his house? Yes. Because all things would start being equal, and we would know better, we would have better information to make better decisions. However, as I said here, single appraisals does not become financially or logistically feasible. Here's an estimate for you. Out of 130,000 parcels, if my office was doing single property appraisals, it would take approximately 270 employees to do that.
Taxes would go way up.
So, do you want to pay the expense for that? Probably not, okay? So it's better that we just cooperate with each other, and you report your changes, and I'll put a value on it, and everything will be better. So we have 10 people that do this. 130,000 parcels and 10 people. So it's quite a task for us to accomplish. But this is not feasible for have 270 employees to try and do that reappraisal in a year's time. It would just be enormous expense. What's next? This is how we're preparing for 2025. We have done community outreach before, but not like we're doing it now. We want to talk to you. We want to talk to your neighbors. If you know other people that live in developments, have associations, we want to go talk to them. So the best thing for you is to ask me questions. Let me give you some knowledge. Let me help you understand how we do it. Let me help you understand how to appeal. Let me talk to you about exemptions. There's a lot of things that people don't know until they want to know it. They were like, well, until you get your tax bill and it goes up, now you want to talk to me. Okay? Prepare before. Let's all work together to prepare before I send you that notice in 2025. And if I send you the notice and the value doubles, then maybe you will understand a little bit more about why it did. Or if it's not correct, then maybe you'll understand a little bit more about what you can do about it, okay, if that happens. So we have been to community centers, we're at the festivals downtown, we're doing lunch and learns, we're at the community markets, we've done appeal clinics, and we're now offering you the property owner toolkit. We were at this was the maybe Juneteenth or the Olaf Festival downtown. So we're making a presence at the festivals, and anywhere that we can go and meet you, that's where we're going, because we want to talk to you and we want to give you information to make the process better and better. Again, we had a Spotlight Carolina segment that ran on WLOS. Maybe some of you saw that we talked about reappraisal. Community Market in Shiloh, again the festival in downtown Asheville. Now we're going to get to this lady's question. What is the equation? How do you know how much taxes I have to pay? You know, most people don't know this equation. Most people just pay their tax bill and they're kind of like, I assume Keith knows what he's doing, so I'll just pay it. However, here's what you need to know. I do the property value only. That's my sole responsibility in this, is to put value on your property. That value then is multiplied by a tax rate. The tax rate is set by the county commissioners, the city council, the fire district, wherever you may live. Those local governing boards is who is creating your taxes, not me. Okay? I only create value. So if the tax rate goes up, your taxes go up. Tax rate comes down, your taxes come down. That's the control of your local representatives. They have that control, not me. So that's what equals your property tax. Again, assessment only estimates your value. The governing boards and the taxing districts determine what you pay in taxes. Okay? So the county, as you know, just recently went up on their tax rate. So your tax bill that we just sent you probably was a little bit more than what it was last time. They went up a penny more, from 48 cents to 49. So the value didn't change though, most likely. Your tax bill changed, but the rate changed because they needed more revenue. Simple as that. The equation's pretty simple, okay? Now, somebody mentioned a little while ago, in reappraisal 2025, when I change your value and we increase, we have a total taxable value now in the county for about $50 billion. So when I do the reappraisal, let's say that goes to $60 billion, then what should happen is this rate should adjust to come down to offset the increase in revenue. So if budget and our leaders don't need any more revenue, okay, we can keep it level, then as value goes up, rate should come down. So you will hear during the reappraisal period that the county manager has to report revenue neutral. So what revenue neutral means is that when the total taxable increases to 60 billion maybe, that's just a number, then they will report what the rate needs to be to collect the same amount of money as they did in the prior year. All right? So it helps you better understand how much revenue they're collecting, where did it come from, did the rate stay the same, did the rate go down? You need to pay attention to that. Not just your value, you need to pay attention to your rate.
So the appraisal is every 4 years, but the tax rate can be changed at any year.
Tax rate can change every year, yes.
Will the reappraisal and the adjustment to the rates happen for the 2025 tax bill that we'll receive?
Yes, yes. Now, I can't promise you the tax rate will change.
Of course.
I didn't say that,
Right.
right? What I said is the value will change.
Right.
Whatever the rate is, the commissioners will make that decision.
And that's kind of like a budget thing.
That's a budget
What
thing.
they need or
Yeah.
think they need.
Yeah, so what happens is, I think I have that on the next slide, if I can get there. Okay. We'll get to that, but let's go ahead and talk about it for a second. The rate is solely determined by the budget. Okay. Every budget in the county, I have a budget for my department. I submit that to the county manager. They put them all together and say, hey, we need $300 million to operate the county this year. So $300 million divided by the appraised value equals the rate. So they know then this is what the rate has to be to get us the amount that we need for the budget. Simple as that. Okay. So what we know is that to improve reappraisals, we need to improve data, just as we were talking. And just as this gentleman back here revealed to me that he's got something he can tell me about. Okay. So we maybe sent you this card sometime back. We sent 80,000 of these postcards out to owners of property in Buncombe County and said, we would like for you to review your information, tell us if it's correct, tell us if it's not correct. And if it's not correct, you can put it on the card and send it back to us, or you can go online to our website and you can enter the information right there and tell us that maybe you've got 2.5 baths and maybe we had it listed as 2 baths. Maybe we got 1,500 square feet, maybe you got 1,800 square feet. Those are the things that we're asking you to help us with to better know. Again, because I'm not going to see the inside of your house. Okay? In a lot of cases, we made estimates that we know how many bathrooms you've got. So if I missed that somewhere along the way, then I'm asking you to tell us that we can do a better job.
Did y'all mail those out?
Those started going out in July. Yeah, so July, and they went out over like a 6-week period.
So we should have got
So you should have got one. I'm not sure why they were not have been on the list, and unless they were, they shouldn't have been in the multifamily, but we'll check on that. See,
Yeah, they send them individually or in packets or what?
individually, it was just a postcard.
I remember getting it, I think I put it in the recycle bin.
Well, if everything's right on it.
Surely not.
You don't have to respond. You have no response.
We asked you, even if everything was right, to tell us it was right. Okay, so we knew that you saw it and you responded. But, you know, if you saw it and you saw it was from the tax office, if you threw it in the garbage, then you threw it in the garbage. So we know a lot of people do. It probably looked like junk mail, but maybe not.
Well, no, I think I looked at it, but I don't remember seeing send this back, but maybe. I
Okay.
did.
Well, we're still getting them. We're still getting the information back, and we're updating the data, you know, as we move forward. What else do we do? Aerial oblique photography. So we contract with a company that flies their planes over all 660 square miles of Buncombe County, and we capture an oblique photography, which is a 45-degree angle of your property. So we can see from my office the front, the back, the rear of your house. I can see your front door. Again, oblique, bird's eye view, and we'll also get a sketch. Okay? So what does the sketch mean? It's a program called Sketch Inspect. What we do, if you look at this photo over here, this house here had one 2-car garage. Here, it's got 2 2-car garages. These people, like some, never called us and told us that they added it. But look what happened is that when I flew it we flew the planes, and the planes gave us the footprint. It identified for us footprint did not match. Something's been changed. So again, it's a way to collect data. So if you added to the footprint of your home, we're going to find it. Okay? And it's a way to make data correct. And you say, well, people will say, well, why do you want to bother us, Keith? Just leave us alone. Okay? But again, it's about equity. Remember, it's about equity. Pay your fair share while he's paying his fair share. If you add to your house, pay the taxes on it because your neighbor's paying the taxes on theirs. So it's about equity, okay? Trying to make it all equal. We also do street level photography. So we're going to drive your neighborhood. You will see sometime this fall, November, December. One of these vehicles will drive 1,878 miles across the whole city, county, urban areas, municipalities, and we will collect street level photography of all the structures. Our appraisers then can do physical inspections from their desktop. These are very high quality, low pixel photography. So we can zoom in and we can see the quality of the exterior, the siding, the windows, the roof. We can measure. We can do a lot of things from collecting this data right from our desktop. Newest thing, we do automated valuation modeling every night. So this report gives us feedback on analyzing data every night and gives us feedback on what things that they may see, this program may see that's wrong in the appraisal process. So every night we revalue 90,000 single family structures. I don't. This software does. And it gives us a predicted value of what your home should be valued at. Here's an example. This house was assessed in 21 for $426,000. It sold in 21 for $470,000. The automated valuation model says today it should be valued at $612,000, and in 2025 it's estimating it should be valued at $656,000. So it's given me today's value and it's given me a predicted value moving forward. Now we get a lot of analytics out of this, not just these values. We get a lot of stuff out of it. But what is this? Also better data. Helps our appraisers have another benchmark to go to do auditing against. To say, if the system said it should be worth $650 and we only have it valued at $500, that's going to flag it and we're going to go look at it and say, why? What's wrong with that? Yep.
How often do you guys tweak the algorithm as far as market fluctuations, things like that, to get those projected
Yep.
values?
The algorithms adjust their sales every night based on the sales data transactions that came in the day before.
Wow.
Okay? So the machine knows, it takes every sales transaction that happened the day before and it plugs them back into the algorithms and then it revalues all the properties. Okay?
Who
So
wrote that software?
there's a company in Durham called SAS. It's a SaaS product. So it's a bigger,
It's huge.
yeah, it's a big company. And it's pretty amazing what they do. But this is just a new piece of technology that's going on across all the appraisal world, and to help us do a better job, we want to use technology like this. Because in the end, where you really believe it today or not, it is about being more fair and equitable to you. That you're not paying more than she's paying when you shouldn't be. Okay? Or she's not paying less than you when she shouldn't be. It's about equity. Everybody pay their fair share. This is some things we implemented for you. Okay? This is what we call in the Property Owner Toolkit. If you go to tax.buncombecounty.org, this is what we're calling the Property Owner's Toolkit. You'll be able to get a photo of the property. You'll be able to get all the data related to the property. What size is it? Bedrooms, bathrooms, land size, sales, anything associated with your property, you'll be able to get it here. That's what you see here. You'll also see a map of the property, front facing photo. And then you will also, this is a new piece we added this year, it's called Community. Community, you'll be able to focus in on the wilds at Chunns Cove and see everything that's happened there. What is the sales ratio? What are the most recent sales? What has been the increase over the prior year? What are the building permit activity? Use this and look at the wiles and see what you think about it, okay? The other one is Comper. You'll see up there on the ribbon, Comper. What Comper will do is that if you open up Comper for your property, it will automatically give you 3 comparables from your neighborhood and give you an estimated value for today. So you can do evaluation yourself. If I send you a value and you say, well, maybe that's not right, then go to Comper and pull it up and look at it. And you'll see then the sales transactions that we use to arrive to estimate your value. This is also available now on our app. I gave you a little flyer that shows the app. That's it right there. It has a picture of the phone on it. So you can go to the App Store and My Value BC, download the app on your phone, and you can go right to your phone and type in your address, your name. It'll pull all that information up. You can file an appeal. You can pay your bill. You can do everything on that app on your phone that you can do on the website. So an effort, again, to give you access, for us to be more transparent, to let you see the data, and you help us know what kind of job that we're doing. Appeals. So people sometimes feel a little intimidated in this process, I think. They feel that the word appeal means that it's going to become controversial. It's not. The statute gives you that ability. You as a property owner, the statute says you should appeal your value if you have a question. If you think the value is not right, then appeal it. And let the assessor explain to you what the value is. And let them give you information to help you better understand the value. That is your right that is given to you from the state of North Carolina. Again, we're providing you the tools, the community, the Comper on our website to help you in the appeal process, to help you even just say, do I need to appeal? Maybe you think the value's not right, but go and look at some of the information and then determine, is the value, you think then the value is correct or not. To help with the appeals on the website, we give you access to the sales information, values for everybody, the physical characteristics, community values. You should have all the information that you need to be able to help make that decision. Do you need to file an appeal or not? If you are uncertain, we had this past appeal period, we had clinics in the neighborhoods. We partnered with Land of the Sky Realtors Association and Pisgah Legal. So we went to some of the libraries and we went around the city and we had clinics that you could walk in and you could talk to a realtor, not me. You could talk to a realtor and say, hey, here's where I live. Here's the value Keith put on my house. What do you think? You think it's right? They're just there to give you some information. If you want to file an exemption, or maybe we disqualified you for an exemption, this comes a little bit of a legal argument then. Pisgah Legal is there now to help you as a property owner. All free services. If you go to one of our clinics, these are just independent realtors who are there to volunteer and help you better understand what the process is. Okay? Reappraisal myths. We've already talked about reappraisal is not a mechanism to increase tax. Regardless of what people think, when you hear in the media come close to 2025, the media starts talking about reappraisal and the possible amount of increase, people will say, well, you're just doing it because you want more tax. That's not me. I'm doing it because the statute says Keith shall put an estimated value on your property, and then your governing boards can do what they want to do as far as tax. Property assessment does not set the tax rate. Here's the big one. When the assessor states an average increase of 20%, does that mean all the taxes are going to increase 20%? People automatically say that. You know, if you've lived here for a while, last reappraisal, you see most of the time the media will publish a map. And we'll have a map of communities around the county. And in that community, we'll say this area increased at a median of 20%. Okay? So people automatically say, oh no, my taxes are going to go up 20%. Not true. Remember, value goes up, rate should come down, So your taxes should not increase the same amount that your value increased. But I can't tell you that in the beginning. I'm going to give you your value, your new value in 2025 around the 1st of February, but you're not going to know what the rate is until June or the 1st of July, because the commissioners and our city council will not set the rate until July 1. So you won't know how or what your taxes are going to be. We do have a plan, though, to give you a tool online. Is that when I send you that value, you can go online and use that value and do an estimate of what your taxes will be, so you can have a little bit of a way of planning. A lot of people look at us and they say, we just want to know because we got a plan on how to pay that additional taxes. So we're going to try and help you there too. Appeal process can be controversial. I just said, no, I don't believe so. Now, if you want to come and argue with me, we can put up some good debates, okay? But that's not what it's about. It's about you coming to me or one of our appraisers and saying, listen, you valued it at this. Here's what I think it should be valued at based on this criteria that I'm going to provide for you, Keith. Or this sales that I'm going to provide for you doesn't support the value that you sent me. Will you please re-review it? And we'll look through it. We'll re-review it. We'll send you another notice to say, hey, we looked at it. Here's what we've determined. But you have the ability to sit face-to-face with those appraisers and just talk about it. You know, what we've done, what you think. So that's access that we want to give you to be able to know more about the process.
Can I ask you a question?
Yep.
Could you tell us more about the appeal process? Because I know that if you and I can't agree on something, there's another level. Could you tell us what that level is?
Yes. The statute starts with me. The statute says January 1 until about mid-April, you can file what we call an informal appeal, and that comes to the assessor. The assessor has the ability to modify your value, change your value during that period of time. Once the Board of Equalization and Review convenes, now the Board of Equalization and Review, 5 members of the public appointed by the commissioners to sit and listen to you as a resident, your concerns about property, whatever it might be, rate, districts, value, whatever your concern is, that board can listen to your concerns. Once that board convenes, then if we haven't agreed to do something to change the value, you and I, then you can go before that board. That's what we call the formal appeal. Go before that board, present your case to that board. They're independent again. They're not county employees. They're going to listen to you. They're going to look at the information that you're going to submit, and then they're going to make a decision what they think the value should be. Sometimes they agree with you, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't agree with you or me, and they'll come up with a number on their own. From that point, you're still not done. You don't agree with that board? Fine. Now you can go to the Property Tax Commission in Raleigh. There, again, 5-member commission appointed by the governor to do nothing but listen to property tax appeals. That's all they do. You can go there. I'll go there with you. You tell your story, I'll tell my story. They make a decision, just like the local board. So let's say now they made a decision and you still don't agree. You can now go to the Court of Appeals. You can now go to the North Carolina Supreme Court and have them listen to your concerns. So it doesn't stop here locally. Okay? I don't have, as the assessor, the final word. You come to me and say, oh, Keith's not going to make a change. If I don't make a change, it's okay, because I'm not going to make a change based on data I have. But you still have due process to move forward and have other people listen to you and your concerns. So that's the opportunities that's given to you.
So if I understand you correctly, you're saying if I don't agree with these 5-member panels, that I can file a lawsuit
Yes.
in the Buncombe County Courthouse and ask a judge to make a decision about it?
You're first going to file in the North Carolina Court of Appeals. After it's heard in Raleigh, now you have to go through the steps. Come to me, you go to the local Board of Equalization and Review, then you go to the Property Tax Commission in Raleigh, then you would go to the North Carolina Court of Appeals. So your attorney now, you got to have an attorney at that point,
Right.
would file your briefs with the North Carolina Appellate Court. to review your
So
case.
it's not the lower court you're filing in Buncombe County?
Right, no.
You have to go to Raleigh?
You have to file at the state level. State law, so you have to file at the state level. It's not local law.
On some states, you can do it in the county where the property's located.
And I don't think so. You got to file there. Yep. Appeal process, did I kind of touch on what you guys want to hear there? Okay. Reappraisal schedule, here's what you can expect. We are currently working on the 2025 reappraisal, and we'll continue to do the reappraisal until we get to January 1, 2025. That becomes the effective date for your new value. At that point, I'm going to send you a notice, tell you what I've estimated the new value to be. When you get that notice, then you will have from January to about mid-April to file the first level of appeal. So again, if you don't agree with it, tell us why. Ask us to talk to you about it, and that's what we'll do. From that point, after April, the Board of Equalization Review will convene and adjourn, and they will hear your appeal. From that point, then the tax rates are set by the commissioners in June, and then August we'll send you your bill. Now at this point, as we just talked about, can be more steps in here. And if you move forward in those steps, then you do not have to pay your tax bill until that is resolved. Okay? You will be charged interest on it if you don't pay it, but you would not have to pay it until it's resolved. There would be no forced collection on you during that time period. That's it.
Can you go back one, please?
Yep.
So notice of assessed value mailed to property owners January 30th. And then on a previous slide, I saw something where it said you have 30 days after receipt of your notice to file an appeal.
Mm-hmm. When you get this notice, or when you get any notice of change of value from me, it's going to say, we're asking you to file your appeal within 30 days.
Okay.
Now, here's why. Remember, last reappraisal we had 8,000 appeals. So if everybody waits till the last minute to file all those 8,000, then I can't get all the work done by the time you want a bill. Okay, so we're asking you, when you get that, just return it back to us and file the appeal within 30 days and give us the opportunity to work with you to do it.
Fail to meet that deadline, it's kind of falling out of the process.
Not the 30-day deadline. You still have until the Board of Equalization and Review adjourns in April. Okay, so even if I send you the notice in January and I say, if you want to appeal, return it to us in 30 days, we would appreciate your cooperation on that. If you don't, then you got until April before you have a drop dead, which says now from this point you missed it and you will not be able to appeal until next year. So you got a lot of time to be able to work through it. And there's more data available now to help you work through it on our website, or every one of you, if you could pull up your parcel on our website, you have an appraiser assigned to you. Their name and their phone number is on the website on your parcel. It's on your data. It will tell you who it is and their direct line, and you can call them directly and talk to them.
That in a neighborhood like ours, we probably have the same.
You all have the same person. Yep. Yep.
And you can't go directly to that county level five-board commission. You have to go through you first and then to them.
Right. Yep. Because we want the opportunity to work with you through it. That board, that 5-member board's a volunteer board, and they do not have the ability to hear 8,000 appeals. So they want me to work through them first to try and help you find a resolution to the problem first. And if you can't, then they'll listen to you. So we don't want to take all the appeals there, because that would take a long time for them to sit and listen to every person. 8,000 people, it would take a long time. So,
I'm just,
yeah.
I mean, your data is not gonna change. Like, so I'm just hesitant to say, I don't think this is right, but your data ain't gonna change, so you're not gonna come to a different conclusion.
That's not always true.
No, you can present your own information.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was living in Texas, I had to do that several times because my appraisals kept going up and my house was having issues, and I had to take pictures and.
So in a
You
neighborhood,
do that.
In a neighborhood like you live, here's some of the bigger issues is that you purchased your house for X dollars. Do I know exactly what you purchased? Okay, and if you paid $500,000 for that house, 1,600 square feet, is that right? Is that truly what you purchased? Because I make the assumption that $500,000 purchase price represents that. But if something was wrong in that, and I don't know about it, and I use the $500,000 sale price, then that could produce a bad value for you. So if you have knowledge of something, you need to let me know that. If you know something about your property inside that I can't know about, you need to let me know that. And then we'll adjust the value.
So I noticed on my taxes, I moved here a couple of years ago, what I paid for my house, I think is written as the appraised value of the house. So I assume that the sale information was reported to you guys as a tax authority.
We get every deed transaction.
Okay.
Every sale we know about.
Right.
But we do not put the sales price as your assessed value. Okay. The sales price goes into the
Right.
statistical
It's
model.
in there, but then what was in the fine print of the contract, that offer price was not actually what I paid for my house.
Okay.
Because after the inspection, there were some issues, and we went back to the owner and
Yeah. Okay.
renegotiated.
Perfect example. I wouldn't know that.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So let's say the owner come back and made $25,000, $50,000 worth of repairs. Well, what I should do now is adjust that sales price to represent that. So if I don't know that, then I used your original sales price to arrive at everybody else's value.
Okay.
Okay? So you would need to appeal it and say, oh, no, wait a minute. You might have used his sale, but here's what you don't know. So you need to adjust that to affect everybody's market value. So it's just, do I know everything about it?
Yeah.
Possibly no. You need to tell me. If you've added square footage, you need to tell me.
I screened in my back porch, is that gonna show up?
I have a question. If you call the appraiser and say, come to my house and look at it, are they supposed to come out, or they obligated, or they're not?
Yeah, we would. Yes, we will.
Because it's just happened years ago, it's too late now, but I asked the guy, you have wrong information. Come to my house and I'll show you.
Yeah.
And they never did.
Well,
It's just years ago, things before your time, but it was very frustrating because they said, we want to work with you, it's informal. I said, come to my house.
yeah.
Anytime, just give me the date and time, I'll be here.
Mm-hmm.
And it wouldn't-
No, that should not happen. If you invite us to come,
Yeah.
we should come. Okay? And you can even, last reappraisal and even this reappraisal, you'll be able to go online and schedule that meeting. And you'll be able to online say, you want us to come. That you're inviting us to come in.
This
Okay?
was years ago, and it's been,
Yeah.
anyway, but that was
Yeah.
very frustrating because,
Just make sure when you let us in, you know what we're going to see.
oh, yeah, right. I had nothing to hide.
So, let's say in the selling process or in the buying process, so if we invite a private appraiser to come in, that you often have,
Mm-hmm.
should they, and what we could go to that website and click on to, should we come to the same number?
You'll never come to the same number. Because remember, appraisal is not a science. It's an estimate. And appraisers have different opinions on different things. But the value should be within an acceptable range of each other. So if your appraiser gave you a value of $500,000 and I have it valued at $600,000, that's a problem. If they give you a value of $500 and I have it valued at $510, it's probably an acceptable range. So you just have to weigh that out. Now, the other thing you can do is that if you have that appraisal, that is your best evidence of market value that you purchased that. You paid somebody to do that for your individual house. So appeal it with that in mind. And you can provide us that information from that appraisal. We'll review it and we'll most likely agree. Okay? So, because that's an independent opinion that you paid for. And they probably have more knowledge about your property than we do. So provide that to us and let us review it and see if we need to make a change. Okay?
I've always hired lawyers to do this for me,
Mm-hmm.
and they basically got like 30% of whatever I saved after the process was done, so it didn't cost me anything to do it other than the filing fee. What is the cost to file the appeal?
Nothing.
There's no
No
filing
cost,
fee here.
no filing fee.
And are the people on these boards licensed appraisers? How do they get to be
They're-
on the board?
They are licensed, experienced appraisers, they're real estate brokers, they're real estate attorneys. So yes, they have the background to be able to help make a decision.
Are you planning to hire more people in your office to handle the increased workload in 2025?
No. Now, I didn't say I didn't want to, okay? I don't have the budget to do it, so.
Did you say earlier y'all start 1 year out?
No, we start immediately. After the 21 reappraisal was done, we're starting to work on the next one because we know things that have to carry forward and more changes that need to be made.
And so you rely on the algorithm that keeps you updated on market?
We are reliable on a lot of different things. We're relying on a lot of different things to help us know that, yeah. But keep in mind, again, and you kind of touching on it, is that I have 10 people,
Right.
130,000 parcels. So everything can't be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. Mass appraisal is not perfect because, again, it's not a science. It's a grouping of properties that we're valuing based on statistics and what we know from sales transactions. Do some fall out of the median? Yeah, it's going to happen. Highs and lows. You're going to have some highs and lows. You're going to have some outliers. You're going to have some stuff that's going to fall out because we don't know something about it. Those are the people that need to appeal and tell us when something's wrong. Help us do a better job. And we'll try and do the best job we can for you. Okay?
Another question. Is there any motivation for me to pay my taxes early in Buncombe County?
No, only just to represent yourself as a good citizen.
Discount if I can't understand why you would send a bill
No.
now for something that's due in January and expect people to pay early.
Because the statute says your bill is due in September.
Great.
Okay, so we send it to you. You can wait to January the 5th to pay without any interest on that bill. So you have quite a bit of time to work through it. But that's why you get it in September, is because the statute says it's due in September.
I think it's like 3 days of time. In Illinois, you get 30 days. Bam, that was it.
In
Some-
Florida, you get a discount though for paying early.
In Illinois,
There's some counties in North Carolina that give discounts, but not Buncombe County does not do that. No. So we send it to you in September. You know, you can go ahead and pay it in September if you want to.
No. Not happening.
I don't either, so, you know, pretty much nobody does, so.
earned interest first, right?
Yeah. What else can I answer for you? I appreciate your time. I've used an hour, I guess. So,
Kind of a question about commercial versus residential.
uh-huh.
It seems like I saw some article somewhere that a lot of the commercial properties seem to be undervalued and undertaxed.
Well, remember, moving forward, if you looked at it today, yeah, you're going to say that. Because the value hasn't changed since 2021. But that should not be true during the year of the reappraisal. Now, commercial is a whole different thing. Commercial's valued on income. Commercial's valued based upon what investors are doing in the market. So you can look at it and say, well, this is what I think it should be worth, but nobody's going to pay that if they can't get the revenue from it. It's based upon revenue, not the business that's in it. It's based upon what that property has the ability to produce in revenue to an investor.
And not real estate?
Yeah, real estate, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, the cost of the building and all of that itself.
Cost does not always equal value, market value.
No, but I mean,
Okay.
the physical building
Yeah, well,
is, you know, what you would buy it and sell it for seems pretty real.
in commercial, the physical building is going to sell for only as much as what an investor is willing to pay for the revenue stream. That's the theory. So you can buy a commercial building, and if your expectation is to get at least a 10% return on the money that you put in it, then you're looking for an X amount of value versus X amount of revenue. And that revenue then is going to determine what the value of the building is. So that's a whole different thing than residential. You know, it's got, because, you know, the stock market affects it, bond returns affect it. There's just so much that affect what investors are doing in that commercial market. That,
Seems like a fuzzy way to calculate taxes there.
It certainly does.
but remember, it's about market value. And market value is only as much as what a willing buyer will pay. Okay? So it doesn't matter the type of property, what will somebody pay for it? That's market value. So we know in commercial that buyers establish market value based upon the revenue the building can produce. Okay? Simple as
So
that.
included in that would be the value of the land it sits on.
Yes.
And what you could possibly do with it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. What else?
Thank you for coming.
I've said a lot.
You've been very informative.
You're welcome.